I'm Larry Menti. Welcome back to another thing. Are you ready for driverless cars, driverless trucks, driverless cabs? Well, they're already here. Soon they'll be coming in mass and filling the roadways. To talk more about the coming of the, what do you call it, autonomous cars? Autonomous vehicles, right?
Well, the industry's changing the term. They used to be called autonomous cars. Now they're coining the phrase autonomous vehicles to include planes, trucks, taxi cabs. So the industry coining a new phrase.
I'll continue with it. Jason Bigelow, owner of Advanced Tire and Auto. And by the way, Advanced Tire and Auto, they're ahead of the curve when it comes to dealing with driverless cars, autonomous vehicles already. Time magazine was out. They had driverless cars on their cover. And they wrote something that was startling. They said, do you want to rid the world of car accidents and deaths on the highway? All you have to do is give up the right to drive. Is that far-fetched?
No, it's not. I mean, it's estimated that more than 1 million people die every year in car collisions and crashes. 92% of those could have been avoided. They're all deemed human error. So taking the human element out of it, that's the industry's #1 reason for a push for autonomous vehicles.
So it's coming, and you see a day when most of the cars, most of the vehicles on the roadways are autonomous?
Absolutely. We're there. The technology is there. Manufacturers are promising by 2020. I don't think that you and I will be able to walk into a dealership and purchase one of these vehicles in 2020, but I do see an implementation in industrial applications, farming, agriculture, warehouses, construction sites, where these vehicles are used in a controlled environment. Phase 2 would be to transportation industry, release them there. An Uber, imagine having an Uber.
Just show up. You order it and it shows up without a driver.
Shows up and takes you where you need to go. A taxi, limousines, city buses, where these vehicles can operate on controlled routes at low speeds before they introduce them to the highways.
There's two barriers, I think. There's two hurdles that people have to get over to welcome driverless cars. One's fear. Legislators are trying to deal with this across the country. They just had some ridiculous law passed in California where they said you can have a driverless car, you just have to have a driver, which kind of somehow ruins the point. They need somebody to take over, which means they don't trust the cars. How reliable are they?
Well, since 2009, Google has driven its cars over 1.3 million miles. They've been involved in 17 collisions, and all of those collisions were attributed to human error, except for the latest crash last month in California, where a Google car was traveling on a roadway and there were sandbags in front of a storm drain and it reversed itself into the path of a bus. Again, not really the technology's fault. They're saying, again, it's very possible human error. They're trying to make these autonomous vehicles think more like humans.
That's a bad thing, right? I mean, if it was humans that got in all these accidents, you don't want them thinking like humans, do you?
You would think so, but too much safety can be a hazard. They're actually talking about changing the algorithm, so this car will actually speed on the highway. It will stay with the flow of traffic as to not impair a collision or cause a collision or cause a crash. They want them to just behave a little more human.
The other hurdle would be insurance. So if I have a driverless car and you have a driverless car and we get into an accident with our driverless cars, who's at fault?
Well, that's the biggest question right now. There's a lot of litigation. It's going to be a hot topic for many, many years. Right now, insurance companies, I think you're going to have a blanket policy where you're going to insure your autonomous car, and whatever falls under that blanket, I don't think you're going to be attributing loss and fault anymore. That's going to be decided in a courtroom.
The Teamsters are going to fight this because there's truck drivers that are going to lose jobs. Cab drivers are going to lose jobs. Body shops are going to lose jobs. And so people are going to rail against it because of the loss of income and the loss of jobs. Do you see that effect already?
There's absolutely going to be some loss, but like every new technology, it creates new sectors, it creates new jobs. There's going to be higher paying jobs. There's going to be, a body shop is a low paying job. There's going to be jobs for computer engineers, software developers, people to write algorithms. So there's going to be more
Are you already
tech.
seeing this?
Yes, there's a lot of cars. Back in the late 1990s, cars relied heavily on mechanical principles, and then they began to rely heavily on data and interpretation of logic. We see that now with driver assist features we have in cars, lane departure, crash avoidance, anti-lock braking systems. So the technology, as it grows, technicians are going to grow, the industry is going to grow. It's going to be a new avenue. Some people resist change in the beginning, but if you look at the upside of it, it's going to create more jobs than it takes away.
Now, are you going to be able to send your car out without anybody inside to make a pickup and come back to your house?
That's the ultimate plan. I mean, being in the automotive industry, we're kind of excited that we're no longer going to interact with a customer, but the car is going to drive up, schedule its own appointment, and give me a list of things it wants completed. So it's exciting technology. We're still a little bit away from it, but near future.
Yeah, and here's what's going to come up when this happens. It's because it comes up all the time, and it's the world we live in. People are going to say, oh, they're going to be used by terrorists. If you can program a car to make a delivery somewhere and you put a bomb in it, then no longer do you need suicide bombers. You're going to be able to send it out. That's going to come up. That's going to come up, especially when this hits the federal level. There's no way around that, right?
There's not. I mean, we have that with all our technologies, whether it's our smartphones, whether it's our planes, whether it's cars, autonomous cars. There's cyber terrorism in general is a concern for the U.S., which hasn't been addressed in any market.
Somebody can hack into a car too, and take over a car and make it do its bidding as well. And that kind of cyber terrorism and those cyber attacks, we haven't figured out. The technology is growing faster than our security measures to protect that technology.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's something they're going to definitely have to take a hard look at before they release these cars. Tesla recently had one of its cars hacked. GM had one of its cars hacked through its OnStar system. Another Jeep vehicle was hacked through its entertainment system. So there are hackers out there exploiting and showing the weaknesses of these cars. There's not a lot of concern, though, which is a little alarming. Most people today, you buy a car, it has Wi-Fi. People are demanding these features in their car. So whether they're autonomous or not, it's still an issue that's going to have to be addressed.
No, I know, and there's too much money to be made. I mean, companies are going to save so much money by not having to hire drivers, and the safety record is going to be so high, and they're going to save so much money on insurance, they'll figure out the terrorism part. That's what I think is going to happen. Thank you so much for being in here.
Thank you, Larry.
Jason Bigelow, owner of Advanced Tire and Auto. When we come back.
With the warmer weather, this is a great time of year to check up on your house. There's some things you can do yourself to save a lot of money.